So, what's the plan now, Leggett? Well, we gotta start putting out fires before we do much else. I'll give the soldiers a chance to get the celebrating out of the systems first, but then we'll need all the battle mages we brought with us, assuming they're still on their feet. If you've got any frost magic up your sleeves, now would be a great time to use it. Oh, please. Frost is basic, and in a place like this I could cast it for hours without breaking a sweat. Not that I sweat. Just go with the idiom. Things I never knew about Argonians, nor ever wanted to find out. Right. Leggett Ricker and the General are talking to Freewind right now, I think. And where in the blazes did Outlog wander off to? I think she was over here. Just gathering a few more hands for the relief effort. Anna, relax. They didn't fight. I know. So, Miss Anna, you and I have an understanding, correct? What happened to your arm? Some dead Stormcloak bastard cracked it, that's what happened. And yes, as promised, I'll let it go. Just stay out of trouble in my territory. Understood. Leggett, it's good to see you in one piece. Myth, good to finally be done with the violent part. Syrah, we've not spoken since Whiterun. You look like you need something to do. That was quick. No, how could you fight for them, or what were you thinking? How could you be so stupid, or why in oblivion would I do that at a time like this? We've more important matters at hand than berating each other for our choices. You came around eventually. Anything beyond that will only get in the way. And there are still fires burning. Our duty right now, most of us anyway, is to clean up as much of this mess as we can, as quickly as we can, so people can get back to normal or better. That includes you two, if you're able. Most of us? Well, I. Anna's in no state to be lifting rubble, strong though she may be, and we're not going to be able to start moving debris until the flames die back, regardless. Unless being Dragonborn means you're more fire-resistant than a pair of Dunmer. Unfortunately not, I don't think. So, you'd best not be including yourself when you say we. Don't you go mucking up your hands even more trying to lift stuff. I'll be fine. My grip strength may be shaky at best, but the rest of my body still works well enough. I can get my shoulders under falling beams just as well as you can. You mean your shoulder with the frostbite scars? Aye. Orcish armor is tougher than I am, and I'm, to quote you, a damn tough mudcrab. You know what? Good point. Right, either you handy with frost magic? Unfortunately, no. And I'm not exactly built for that sort of work. I don't really have anything to add either. I'm a little stronger than I used to be just from wandering around Skyrim in heavy armor, but I can try to help Enna set her arm properly. Assuming she'll let me anywhere near her. You don't seem like the type to try to poison someone while they're injured. And I'll know if you do. So fine. I am better with herb medicine than restoration, anyway. I'm not sure whether I should be insulted by that or not. Save us all the trouble and don't be. You get used to her, I promise. It's just the whole Reach Woman thing. Right, I'll tend to your arm and then help with the debris. That'll work. In the meantime, Adler, Cactus Smith and I will work on the fires. Just because you don't have frost magic doesn't mean you can't carry a bucket up from the river. I'll try to get the men organized into lines so we can be a bit more efficient about this. Cactus, you can go ahead and start working while I do. Yes, sir, Leggett. Although, just one thing. After we get some of these fires out, you know I'm not strong enough to deal with any of the, the lifting part. Aye. Trade places with Syrah when you're done. Take a break. Clean the soot out of your scales. Keep Enna company. Keep an eye on me, more like. Keep you company. I've not known many who actually like healing alone, myself included, and you two seem to get on well enough. Fine. I suppose I could use someone around to help me make canis root tea. Oh, God, not again. What? That's what I make for Solvander's hands. Canis root and lavender. And I did say help. There's a trick to brewing it for its medicinal properties that I could teach you, but I really only need someone to actually crush the canis root, given that holding a mortar and pestle might be a challenge right now. Oh. Oh. Is that why Nella... Oh, no wonder he's constantly grouchy if he's just in pain all the time. Huh. Well then, I'd be happy to learn. Maybe then I'll be able to figure out why that old bastard is never satisfied with anyone's brewing. To be fair, he's never satisfied with anyone's anything. And the man's over 600 if I had to guess. Of course he's in pain all the time. I'm only 134 and I can already tell when the weather's changing. Oh. Well, living out on the frontier will age one's face, I see. You're younger than you look. And younger than I usually feel. The frostbite scarring doesn't help either. Alright, enough standing around, let's get to it. Cactus, go find the other battle mages and let's get to work. Sure thing, Sol. Hold a moment, before you get too far. Something the matter? Not as such, no. Are you planning to be in Windhelm long? Long as we need to be. At least until we head back to Whiterun to help the cleanup still in progress there. And probably make a pass around the formerly Stormcloak holds just to make sure everything is still in order. Just in case. Oh, Maven is gonna love this. Damn. What's that? Nothing. Why are you asking how long we'll be here? Well, because Myth and I really need to leave the Aratina residence to Angrenor, and I know there's a rather sizable, mostly empty house available, which may make for a decent place to spend the night away from Candlehearth, given all of you. And, of course, provided you overlook the house's history. Assuming we can get in and clean out the, necromantic residue? Say no more, sounds perfect to me. That's kind of you to offer, Sira. And I'd say it's kind of you to offer to clean, Cactus, but I know you. I'll only study it a little bit, don't worry. I can help too. I'm not squeamish. And depending on the state of whatever's in there, I might be able to turn it into fertilizer. You've all just been walking around in her company this whole time. Like I said, you get used to it. Sort of. Besides, even if I'm in no state to help, if it's cursed, it'll keep people from pestering me. I'm not exactly in the mood to be around more soldiers at the moment. Especially not ones who keep thanking me. I don't know what to do with that. Good place to start. Tell them you had help. Thank 'em right back. I may need to practice that. Alright, well, I'll show you to Hierim. I think Myth still has the key from when we were investigating it. Although I'd also defer to Legate Farain on the timing of all this. The war's as over as it's gonna get, and you're the Dragonborn, not one of my soldiers. Just call me Soulwonder. And that sounds like a plan. You two go hunker down before the locals start coming out again. Cactus, I'll send you over when we're done with the fires. Myth, Adlog, you're with me. Aye, aye, Legate. Well, here we are. Hierim in all its, redolence? It smells like old blood, burnt wax, and stale meat in here. And not in a good way. Implying that there is, in fact, a good way. Right, well, it's certainly in need of some work yet. Luckily, Myth and I have some experience with house repairs now. Of all things. Repairs? It's a big empty box. With rot hazards laying around somewhere. Color me surprised that a Forsworn is worried about that of all things. You don't think we worry about infections? In the Reach? Aren't you... I mean... Daedra worshippers? That would include the likes of, say, Namira and Periite, wouldn't it? You call them Daedra, we call them spirits. And worship is a strong word for what amounts to a trade deal. We do our part. The spirits do theirs. The Lord of Order sends his plagues and blights. And sure, some illnesses make one stronger to them after they've had them once, but part of our part includes not just letting ourselves walk around with brain rot or ataxia, or infected wounds. That seems somewhat counter to what I've read about Periite's various cults. Why's that? Oh, just something about his followers walking around with, I don't know, everything from regular sniffles to purposefully open sores that turn into seething pools of gangrenous pus. Frankly, a horrifying image. You've read a lot, but you know very little about the spirits. Why would Periite have given us ways to treat, say, the rattles, if he didn't want us treating the damned rattles? I know well, you'd probably call him a priest. His name is Kesh the Clean. Not exactly a Reachman, but he's one to live and let live. We'll sort of leave him alone. Care to guess who he worships? Periite, I assume? That's the one. And he knows more about various afflictions than even some of our matriarchs. Frankly, I think he might have learned from them. Strange old cat, that one. Now, are you going to help me set my arm right before or after we clean out the rotting bones in there? Oh, gods. Right, let's deal with your arm first. And maybe get some chairs in here. I think there were a few upstairs. There's one here that could use a wipe down. Oh, lovely. While we were out with the others, Myth said you two had an understanding. Can I ask what that understanding is, exactly? It's nothing you're probably worried about. Just that I'll stop trying to gut you both for that massacre at the Karthspire now that Ulfric is dead. Just like that? Might as well. It's good practice for when I have to deal with Imperial list makers and whatnot. Nobles. City people. I've had my revenge. The rage hasn't healed yet, but now we can maybe start the process. The next step is to make sure there's a calmer voice than Madanach's trying to establish any kind of actual peace. Assuming the bastards don't just stab us all in the backs. Again. If Rika and Tullius will speak up for us, that falls to me, I think. A forsworn talking peace with the Empire. Cold Harbour is thawing as we speak. That's what Madanach was trying to do before Ulfric came in, took the city and murdered every Reachman he could reasonably capture. The Jarl's father did the rest. That, and let the Silverbloods throw my people into sit in a mine to dig up silver for what they probably thought was the rest of their days. I can let the Karthspire go, even if it's hard to. But I still can't believe you of all people fought for that. And yet, you're still letting me poke at your arm. And you offered to help clean, as much as you're able. A gift for a gift. You're letting me hide here. It's the least I can do to make it less haunted for all of us. That is an excellent word for it. And to answer your disbelief, I suppose, the Thalmor are worse than the worst of the Stormcloaks. They're the reason I'm here rather than back home in Shimmerine. I thought, or maybe convinced myself, that I was choosing the lesser of two evils. That's how I feel about the Empire, actually. But I'm not sure it's lesser by much. Knowing some of its rather more egregious history, certainly not. However, what the Thalmor like to either forget, suppress, or skim over is the fact that people change. And men have the tendency to change far faster than Mer, or our establishments, if not individuals, can reasonably keep up with. Just because Tiber Septim the man was a conquest-happy arsehole doesn't mean that's why men worship Talos. I hope. It gets a bit muddy if you look at it for too long, and of course history is fraught with exaggerations one way or another depending on who's telling the story. Frankly, the Thalmor are coming rather close to, if not exceeding, what I assume is a realistic interpretation of anything Tiber Septim did. Heavy emphasis on realistic. You've read a lot. I seem to have gone off on a rant half prompted. Apologies for that. I've had that one building for a while, I think. I don't really care what kind of hatred your people have for the Nord's god hero. Truth be told, I don't really believe in him. But you've read a lot. You know how diplomacy works. Somewhat, in theory. Why? I know how battle works. I know how the Reich works. Thanks to watching Adlug and Solvander and the soldiers, I sort of have a better understanding of how the Empire works. I know how to talk to warriors and enemies alike, but I'm no Nepos. I'm no Madanach. And if I'm going to go toe-to-toe with Jarl Ligmund, what's left of the Silverbloods, and the Empire, in ways that don't involve putting an arrow through anyone's eye, I have a lot to learn. Even if you don't know politics yourself, you at least know where to look. And how. How to look? You mean like being able to sort out trustworthy sources and whatnot? That, but you also have a lot more ways to see situations. I don't quite know how to put it, but I think I could learn something from you about how to deal with these people. Me? I can find you historic precedent and point you toward good sources, but Myth is the one to talk to if your concerns are about, well, talking, primarily. He's an... I probably can't say what he is. Morag Tong. Solvander figured it out a while ago. Right. Well, it's how he does that particular job that you might find more useful than my long-winded lectures. Like I said, you know where and how to look. You're not afraid to tell people when you don't know something. Thank you for that. I'll talk to Myth probably after we deal with these rotting bones. Oh, gods. Perhaps we should wait until Cactus shows up? Just to preserve the... whatever it is he wants to study. I've never met a squeamish healer before. Come on. He doesn't deal well with bones either. At least your eyes will save you from having to see it. Much to my horror, that is actually worse, as it turns out. Oh, very well. So, Miss Cactus, is that really your name? Unfortunately, the man who named me had a side fascination with botany. Thus my name, Cactus in Bloom. Had he known my feathers would be red and not pink after I went through my first molt, maybe he'd have picked something a little more intimidating. At least he didn't name you Sweet Barrel. You know, they do have red flowers. So, you can do things. I'm not taking writs, if that's... no. Gods, no. Not like I've never entertained the prospect of hiring a skilled woodsman to go pay Neloth a visit, but, no. That wasn't what I was going to say. Good. Master Neloth is on our no-contracts list for future reference. He survived an attempt once. The Foresters Guild is a bit on the rough side these days, but so is all of Morrowind. None of us are desperate enough to think taking on a contract for that ancient sack of Quama castings is a worthwhile venture. Quama castings? I haven't heard that one since I left. I don't think I've said it since I did. So what are you trying to ask me? I can do things. Right, you, correct me if I'm completely wrong, but it seems like you're a shadow mage. Yes. And you're so casual about it? Do you have any idea how rare that is? I have been under the impression that it's not exactly common. An exceptional understatement. There are only a handful of scholars in Tamriel studying it, let alone actively using it, since it tends to be, well, finicky at best. Master Neloth is one of those scholars, though he's really only interested in Azra Nightwielder's work on staff enchanting, which is really the least interesting aspect one could possibly try to pick apart about shadow magic. But you can just zap all over a battlefield and yank people around. That must have taken decades of practice, not to mention a good teacher. Who did you learn from? I didn't think there were any shadow mages over on your side of Morrowind. There was one, in fact. Who? Me. I mean studied ones, Myth. I'm self-taught, Cactus. And to preempt your next question, no, I don't know how I can do this. I have attempted to find out, and while my father's contacts are many and widespread, I've found myself mostly at a loss. Learning that shadow magic is particularly rare explains a few things, and opens so many more questions. Like how you can just bend shadows to your will without breaking a sweat. Normally there's some... I've read horror stories about people shriveling up or losing their minds or any number of horrible fates associated with a lack of mastery. Which is why I'm impressed. I do give myself a headache or teleportation sickness on occasion, and it is far easier to actually use shadows when there are in fact shadows to be used, but yes. You and I have read the same stories, it would seem. In fact, one of the few people who had anything useful to say on any of this was, I believe, one of your late master's relatives. What? How did you... When you cut down a tree, or an emperor parasol for that matter, it takes a while for the stump to start rotting. A good forester can usually tell when someone has a stump rotting in their yard, so to speak. You've given me enough hints to put it together, one way or another. Right. I wasn't really aware that Azeron had any relatives. Oh. Oh, what? How long ago did he die? Couple of years ago now, I think. You know how it's Telvanni. I kind of lost track of things, time included, while I was trying to get out. I am very sorry to hear that. Both of those, actually. Small world. Deeply unfortunate. I've worked for and on several of his relatives. Some of the formerly Vardenfell Andrethes. I never got the chance to meet Master Azeron in person. He was the Andrethi you were talking to about your shadow magic, wasn't he? He was. Through letter. He had rather strong opinions about my handwriting. I'm sorry, Cactus. If I still had any of his old letters, I'd give them to you. Did he say anything about me? Only that he had an extremely curious apprentice in his care. I can see where you get some of your mannerisms now, I think. Yeah. We should get back to work. My headache is gone. If you ever need to talk. I'm not going back to Morrowind. For at least a little while. Between Syrah and the last letter I sent to the man who sent me here. Not exactly scathing, but as close as I could get and still maintain some decorum. Thanks, Myth. That was not how I expected this conversation to go, but conversations where I'm involved rarely do. Tell me about it. Something I do remember from one of his letters. Shadows can twist all manner of traits into dim and repressed echoes of reality. They find it much harder to do that for compassion and resilience. So keep those close. Never waver, if you can help it. That does sound like him. I should You should go see if the girls need help. Sharon was a mess when I last laid eyes on it. Thanks, Myth. I'll do that. You alright, mate? You look a little, I don't know what that look is on you. I think I'll be alright. Just a lot on my mind all at once. Hand me a bucket and I'll sort it out while we work. Aye, aye, Myth. Understandable, considering. Thank you for the tea. You really didn't have to do the whole thing yourself. Especially given... earlier. You didn't exactly seem excited about the idea. I know. I needed to do something. Myth reminded me of someone I don't really like to talk about. Not Neloth. You won't stop complaining about him. Yeah. It's very strange being treated not horribly by accomplished Dunmer, even if they still treat me like a child, which I am not, by the way, but... I mean, Myth is probably 80 years older than I am. Soul is older than I'll ever be. It's probably as close as I'll ever get to being, you know, equal. You told me once that you know a thing or two about being an outcast in your own land. Is that what you mean? Yeah. The great houses gave up slavery at the end of the Third Era, but that doesn't stop some of them from treating Argonians and Khajiit like... Well, take here for an example. Windhelm isn't much better than Morrowind, although there is a tiny vindictive part of me that doesn't exactly bleed for the Dunmer in the Grey Quarter. Which is why you had to leave when your father died. You put that together very quickly. I haven't told you that much, have I? Me? No. Soul wander while forgetting I was in earshot? Yes. Wonderful. You're not going to sit there and call me weak or something, are you? No, but I am going to ask what life was like for you back home. You and Syrah have the same sorts of... I don't know what to call it. You get twitchy when you think you've done something the rest of us will be angry about. Which... so do I, but I know why I do it. Nord nonsense. I'd use a stronger word, but yes. You two... I only sort of understand. Her more than you. Well, I wish I could say more about being, you know, an Argonian. A sort of distant Saxhleel, though I'm not sure I'm even allowed to call myself that if I was raised away from the Hist and Black Marsh and everything. Granted, it's not entirely out of the question that Master Andrethi could have found and imported some Hist sap, but, Black Marsh and Morrowind are not exactly on trading terms. And I don't remember one way or another, so... Why is Hist sap important? What is a Hist besides a tree? You know... I'm not sure I know why it's important. Not the way the Saxhleel do. The Hist are trees that talk, kind of. They talk to those who've either grown up with them or tasted their sap, or... I'm not sure. What I do know is that they're sort of at the heart of real Argonian culture. Even lifestyle, I think. I've read, and I don't know how real this is, that one doesn't become an actual adult Argonian without licking Hist sap and being transformed by the tree in some kind of way. And I never have. You seem adult enough to me, though I've met exactly one Argonian before I met you, I think. I'm the opposite of an expert. Thank you, Anna, but it's... Technically speaking, I'm not a child anymore. Numerically speaking, rather. But I still feel... It doesn't matter how I feel. Culturally, I'm Telvanni. And I know how to do things that no other Telvanni wizard knows how to do, so stuff it, Neloth. You almost got away with a distraction, but I'm going to ask anyway. How does it feel? It's important to you. Probably, no, definitely a sore spot. And you have a hard time trusting Solvander and Myth because they're Dunmer. As much as I wish I could, yeah. I feel like I'm missing something. Probably the Hist. It's most likely some biological thing telling me to go lick a tree, which is frankly absurd. But I don't know. And that's the point. I don't know what I'm missing. Everyone else seems to have things figured out, men, mer, and beast folk alike. It makes sense to me. You're separated from something important to you, and you've been stepped on by outsiders who don't care. I know how that goes. I figured you might. Which is kind of the only reason I'm trusting you with this. I'll keep your secrets, don't worry. Though I will ask if you'd ever want to go find a Hist and do whatever Argonians are supposed to do when they find one. I don't know. Part of me thinks, of course I should, duh. The rest of me is very concerned with the fact that the Hist are an interconnected consciousness, and I like my mind where it is, thank you very much. I don't want something or someone poking little sappy tendrils around in there, and I really don't want other Saxileel being able to read my mind or something. Can they do that? If I knew, I wouldn't be having as many problems with myself as I am. Fair. And fascinating. Fascinating? You're not like anyone or anything I've ever seen before, aside from dragons. You're fascinating. Which reminds me, I have a recipe for feather oil that I was going to give you, but never got the chance. And I'm not exactly sure I could make it right at the moment. I'd need 2 hands. Feather oil? That sounds like an interesting experiment, actually. Normally I just let them do their own thing and worry about my scales. Where'd you learn a recipe for feather oil? My grandmother is a hag raven. I learned it, among other lotions, potions, and poisons from her. And how to polish eyeballs. Ugh. Right, forsworn. You're fun to disgust. Thanks. You're fun to talk to. I should get some paper so I could write down some of what you tell me. About you or the Reach. Mainly about the Reach, speaking of fascinating. I'll humor you. You made me tea. If that's all it takes to get you to answer my Reachment questions, I will gladly make you more. I may also ask you to walk or teleport me back to the Reach soon. I need to go give Madanach Ulfric's axe at some point, even if news has reached him by now about the bastard's death. Need someone to cover for your arm? I'll heal quickly. But for now, yes. Can do. Well, looks like we're gonna need to put down bedrolls or something. But this looks like a nice place. Oh, at least, it's got good bones. Oh, don't even talk to me about good bones. There is a bed upstairs, technically. Technically. I wouldn't want to sleep in it. And I've slept in some rather unorthodox places. The alternative is we all row out to the Scarlet and stay there overnight. Got plenty of space on the ship. You want to row? After the day we've all had? I didn't say I want to, I just said it's an option. No offense, but the less time I spend on a boat, a ship, only I can call her a boat, on a ship, the better. Cactus, Atlug, I know you both have bedrolls. Enna, I can sleep anywhere, but yes, I have a bedroll. Myth and I can leave this place to the rest of you and spend the night at the Aretino residence if need be. Because we're so very lacking in space here. This place is huge. Acoustically speaking, I agree with you. We may have to go back there anyway, since I think that's where we stowed our bedrolls. And the deed. Might be important, just given the chaos. I'm not sure if your leave will be replaced, but I want to have it on hand in the event that he is. Good call. Oh, and we could ask Angrenor where he's been finding furniture. We haven't seen the whole city, but I don't know who or where could be selling, say, tables. I've heard the smith, but is there a carpenter here?
If I were to hazard a guess, he's probably going to the East Empire Company. They've got a warehouse at the docks run by some guy and an imperial lady. Adeliza. She's pretty nice. And the EEC ships all sorts of stuff all over Tamriel. Actually, we could run down there tomorrow if you like. I did him a favour a while back. Could get you a nice deal if you want to make it a bit more homey in here.
That would be lovely, actually. Although perhaps you should take Myth with you, given furniture. I know I won't be able to see anything, but I intend to get your opinion on fabrics eventually. Make sure they pass the itch test. Thank you, dear. Oh, that explains a lot. I don't know if you two have a cooking pot to bring over, but I've got one in this bag somewhere and I intend to use it. I'm not chopping potatoes this time.
Aye, you rest. My knife skills are shit, but
honestly, I'm right here. And yes, I do have knives that don't have blood on them. Plural? My dear, you can't keep getting surprised by this.
Cactus, you start the fire. I'll start rounding up bedrolls. And maybe run a broom around a bit.
Welcome back. How'd it go? Myth and Atlug have things well enough in hand. They're just haggling at the moment. Something I have no patience for right now. Not while there's work to be done. Believe me, I understand. Need an extra pair of eyes, if not hands. Just make sure nothing falls on me while we're moving debris around. I can do some of this by feel. Good to know. Maybe I should have offered a shoulder instead. Speaking of, you alright? You seemed a bit raw around the nose yesterday when Atlug brought you over. I appreciate your help, but you don't have to throw yourself into this. You and Myth both. It's a distraction. From the people I wasn't able to save. I know how that goes, unfortunately. I'm sorry, you know. I wish it hadn't come to this. So does everyone, I think. Now that it's over. Mostly over. You're very good at just organizing people. You know what you're doing here. I'm impressed, but also realizing how it was that you and General Tullius managed to gain and hold control all throughout this conflict. I have practice. Skyrim's a little bigger than Ravenrock, but I think a lot of that practice still applies. You've been in active combat before, haven't you? You're a Blade Master Sergeant, now Legate. Again. It's been a while, but Captain Veleth keeps his men sharp. Or sharp as he can, given the state of Ravenrock. Some of us took our training a little more seriously than others. I was one of those. Seems like you studied more than the blade, just given how you're dealing with things here. I did. Got my hands on every strategy and tactics book I could find. Got a bit of snack for it from my peers, but here I am. Always want to know what I'm getting myself into before I get into it. When I don't, I run into trouble. Sometimes dire trouble. Like with your hands? Aye. How bad are they exactly? I know Myth said they're not in the best shape. That's a kind way to put it. They say any knife fight you can walk away from is a knife fight you won. I'd call that one a stalemate, I think. I've got enough grip strength to balance a staff, strap a shield to my arm, hold a mug. Most basic tasks are fine, but the forces involved in swinging any weapon heavier than a dagger just don't agree with me anymore. That sounds... I'm sorry to hear that. I imagine you're probably beyond anger about it at this point. Aye. Less trouble to just accept it and deal with it as and how I'm able. A swordsman not able to use a sword anymore. Bet it feels something like a skull and not being able to use her eyes anymore. That's why I don't blame you in particular for making the choice you did. It's It's been a blessing to have someone around to read to me, but it's not the same. And I thank you for your compassion. It's not exactly what I expected, but I grew up in a place that doesn't expect anything but the worst of anyone. In particular, the Dunmer. Daedra worship and whatnot. It's not only outlawed, but vehemently enforced. The Former seem to vehemently enforce a lot of things, from what I've heard. For the common folk, anyway. Wasn't one of your generals in the Great War a Daedra worshipper? That's just a legend, I'm afraid. Lord Narfin was brutal enough without Daedric intervention. No offense, of course. I assume you're, one of those. Myth isn't exactly devout, I don't think, but you don't have to beat around the scarecrow unless the Vigil of Stendar is around. The Daedra aren't all bad. Not all good either, but that's our way. That's why discipline is such a guiding force in the New Temple. It takes discipline to not be played for a fool, even by the reclamations. I like discipline as a guide far better than some unattainable perfection. Don't tell anyone I said this, but I think the Canon Reeves back home take the path to Alaxon a bit too far, and twist it well beyond what was most likely its original intent. Don't have to worry about me. I like to think I'm fairly tolerant. Raven Rock is the frontier for most intents and purposes, but we've always had Dunmer Imperials and Nords living together. Only time we've ever had serious problems with Outlanders was when we got raided by Argonian pirates back in 150. At least I think they were pirates. And now here you are, working with an Argonian and a pirate. And your brother. And a Forsworn who, frankly, I'm surprised you of all people has any sympathy for her, given your whole bent toward lawfulness. It may be my upbringing talking. Don't be surprised about that. My father's side of the family came from the Ashlands in Vardenfell. My uncle is a priest. A rather opinionated one at that. I grew up with stories about how the Ashlanders kept the old faith alive all this time, all through the rule of the tribunal. I can see reflections of that in the Reachmen. Or maybe just in Enna. Fighting to keep their old ways alive, even against everything trying to get them to forget and move on. I don't agree with how they've gone about most of their rebellion, but neither am I a Reachman. They have their ways, I have mine. I have sympathy for their plight, at any rate. And yet you sided with the people most likely to just assimilate them, if they in fact accept the Reach as its own sovereign territory someday. The alternative was more of what they've already been through. And probably worse, given that it was Stormcloak sympathizers running that prison mine. You tell me which one you think was the better choice. Good point, actually. Well, the silver lining to all of this is that the Thalmor won't be happy. They just wanted this to drag out as long as possible. I think to destabilize the Empire. Aye, that's what I figured. You studied more than just tactics and strategy in your books, didn't you? Maybe. But I also tend to see all situations through a certain lens because of it. And that's why House Redoran has some of the best warriors on Tamriel. Our minds are as sharp as our weapons. House Delvani would beg to differ, but they're contrarian about damn near everything. Dunmeri politics is complicated, it would seem. Aye. You holding up all right? I think so. Thank you. This has been an excellent distraction. Good. Alright, so, given that we've got most of the fires and whatnot cleaned up, I think today we head back to Whiterun and you and Cactus can go to the Reach. Turn in your, Ulfric's axe. Aye, that's the one. And the rest of us, we'll see how we can help out. Sounds good. Sounds like a plan to me. I should probably check in with Riften at some point, but not today. Alright. Lead on, Sylvander. Aye. Should probably ask around and hello.
Greetings, citizen. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Vander Nightbrook, and I am your post-haste courier representative. You may recognize my face from postcards delivered to every address in Skyrim. Skyrim Courier Service is under new management. Mine. The old service was so third era. Slow. We have a new business model, fresh branding, and fully modernized service, making post-haste the obvious choice for your next delivery. That, and the service is free to all citizens of Skyrim, thanks to a fat government subsidy.
Well now. The Empire works best.
Aye. Well, this is new. So you're delivering all the packages and letters in Skyrim now?
I deliver anywhere, anytime, buddy. Crawling a forgotten Dwemer city deep in the Reach? Delivered. Living in a sketchy mushroom on an ash-swept island? Delivered. Stuck in seclusion with a bunch of graybeards? Hi, Hrothgar! Delivered. I deliver all packages, large and small. From Robber's Gorge to the Ethereum Forge. From Hunter's Rest to Bone-Strewn Crest. From the Shrine of Azura to the Twilight Sepulchre. Whatever. I get it done with urgency. And I'm sorry, but ethically, I cannot accept any tips. This is a public service, okay? But if you have pie, we can talk.
Okay. It's good to meet you, Vander. And away he goes.
Well. He seems...
The Empire would have us become slaves to the Thalmor. We are not slaves. We are men. Free men who'll slay anyone who begs to differ.
You might want to keep that under wraps, sir. There's Imperials about.
Oh boy. Well, that was certainly something, wasn't it?
Aye. So we've got a new courier service. Not like any of us are expecting many messages.
I do like his description of it being, third era. Slow.
I like his description of Neloth's mushroom as sketchy. And here he is again.
I've been looking for you. Got something I'm supposed to deliver. Your hands only. Let's see here. Looks like that's it. Gotta go.
That was quick. He was not kidding when he said with urgency. You're blind. Yes, I think we've established that. I just need you to know that this Vander is... Oh dear. Rebels. This Vander fella, he's a Bosmer with bright red hair. In fact, the brightest red that I have ever seen in my life. Well, that's... interesting.
Aye, I think... I'm not sure whose hair is brighter. Or which red is brighter, rather. Vander's hair or Cactus's feathers?
Interesting. See, I would have thought his feathers were pink. Or orange, maybe. So, what's the message? Or rather, what did our intrepid courier have to deliver to you? Let's find out. I'm gonna assume it was this. Solwonder. Word around the docks is that one Legate Ferrain has been busy of late, putting down rebellions and following in the footsteps of other proud Redoran soldiers in the Imperial Legion. Well done, lad. I hate to ask more of you at a time like this, but there's a situation developing here that Adril and I can't handle ourselves. I wish I could say more. If you do decide to come back, you'll need to keep discretion in mind, especially if you intend to bring one of your companions along with you. Obviously, you're not under my command anymore. I can't order you back here, but I urge you to consider it at least if you can spare the time. You're the best we have when it comes to situations like this. Adril asked me to write to you before any of our contacts on the mainland, if that tells you anything. Oh, and your uncle is asking after you again. When he's not on my case about getting more men to the temple anyway. Business as usual there. Whatever the case, be well. Modin.
So, what's it say?
I think I'm needed back home. And I don't have a good feeling about this. Oh, that... You sound, like I did when I got Miss Letter from the steward.
What's going on?
Just my old guard captain asking for me. If it's what I think it is, I'm gonna need help.
You know we're with you, so no matter what happens.
I know. But this isn't... I can't bring you a cactus with me. This is, if I'm reading between the lines right, far too delicate of a situation. One I never expected to have to deal with myself. Sira, will you be alright in Natluck's care for a while?
I'm sorry, what do you mean in her care?
Amazing stories.
You want me to come with you? Aye. Trust me, I'd rather not pull you away from your lady at a time like this, but I think you might have insight that I'll need to survive whatever this is. Oh dear. Oh, Sylvander, are you sure you want to... I mean, you're not a veteran guard anymore. You don't have to... I'm not a guard anymore, but I'm still House Veteran. And I still have a duty to protect Morrowind, including and especially Raven Rock. Which is why I want to bring someone along who knows the tongue better than I do. It might not be them. It might be something neither of us are prepared for, but I just have this feeling. Considering who our mother is, I trust your gut, unfortunately. Sira,
I'll be alright. I'll stick with that lug and we'll do our best to keep Cactus and Enna in line, right?
Aye. As in line as they ever get, anyway. Besides, we gotta go make sure Whiterun's recovering, and these two have an axe to go bring out of the reach. Plenty of distractions to keep us from worrying about the old man, eh?
Yeah. Just... if something happens... I've survived getting mangled by pirates and mauled by a werewolf, son. We'll come back from this too. Don't worry. For all our sakes, I'll make sure he doesn't get in over his head. As best I can, anyway. Aye, thank you for that. I'll go see if Captain Galland is in port. Myth, take whatever time you need to get ready. Enna, Alug, look after Cactus while I'm gone, will you?
I'll keep him occupied. He's got a book to write, after all.
Notes? They're just notes right now. But yes, I'll try not to worry too much.
Aye, and if Captain Galland isn't down there, I can sail you over. Let me come with you just to see.
I appreciate that, Atlug. Thanks, Cactus. If you get too worried, normally I'd say you know where my shield is, but given the nature of what I think I'm walking into, just keep an eye on the docks at least. We'll come right back when we're done.
Aye. I think the plan is to meet up back here, eh? Since we've got a big empty house to decorate and whatnot.
Sounds like a plan to me. Be careful, Sol. Always am. Come on, Atlug.
You really don't have much to do to get ready, do you?
No, not really. Just debating on whether or not to take my uniform with me.
If you're doing some sort of infiltration, best not, right?
More like, best not so that I don't get in trouble with the esteemed and somewhat legendary Captain Modin Velith. I'll bring Sylvander back. He is my brother after all. And I have to come back to you, don't I?
You don't have to, but I'd prefer it if you did.
A lot.
Myth, before you go, I seem to have found the limit of my patience. Just while I have the opportunity to confess it, I
know. I'm fairly certain I love you too, Sira. And that's why I have to come back. No matter what.
Oh, thank the gods.